YouTube says it has had enough of vaccine misinformation on its site.
And false stories from phony sites to run circles around major news outlets.
Many people don't know the difference between something real and something created to deceive them.
Open your eyes.
If you've ever had this feeling that something was terribly wrong with the world that we live in, but you couldn't figure out just what it was, then you've come to the right place. Secret societies, mystery religions, and the Illuminati have been controlling our reality since the beginning of time. But not anymore, because there is an awakening happening, and you are about to become a part of it. Wake up, because this is a call for an uprising.
For decades, America's healthcare networks have been overdue for a high-tech upgrade, and that's what we're doing. The existing systems are often slow, costly, and incompatible with one another. But with today's announcement, we take a major step to bring healthcare into the digital age, something that is absolutely vital. You got to do it. Moving from clipboards and fax machines into a new era of convenience, profitability, and speed, and frankly, better health for people. Under the leadership of Administrator Oz, we're officially launching the CMS Digital Health Tech Ecosystem to give healthcare providers, insurers, and software companies the tools they need to empower Americans with a 21st century experience on health. The key breakthrough we've made is getting many of the biggest names in the healthcare and technology to agree to industry-wide standards for electronic medical records. All of those great companies that you just heard have gotten together with this group of very brilliant people. I don't know who's more brilliant, them or them. I don't know. Could be them. I hate to tell you. It could very well be them. But I don't know. I'm going to take my team. But the key breakthrough we've made is getting many of the biggest names in healthcare and technology to agree to that those standards of electronic medical records that we talk about and you've heard about for so many years, and now it's happening. This will allow patients to easily transmit information from one doctor to another, even if they're different networks and using different record-keeping systems. No matter what system they use, they're all transferable. The new standards will also make it simple for patients to access their own personal health records. I don't want to see mine, please. I don't want to see. I don't know about you. They have all sorts of things. Sir, they can tell you exactly what your problem is going to be in 6 years. We can do it. You know, they have all these different things. I don't know if they work or not, but I didn't want to hear it. I didn't want to hear it. If they got a problem, I don't want to know about it right now. But it is amazing what they're doing. I don't know. Does it actually work? Can they do that? All right. Well, then I'm glad I said I don't want to know. But thanks to this announcement, healthcare providers across the country will also finally be able to kill the clipboard. It's an expression that's used, capital, with a capital C, kill the clipboard. Instead of filling out the same tedious paperwork at every medical appointment, patients will simply be able to grant their doctors access to their records at the push of a button, just a button, and you're all set, and all the information the doctor needs will be immediately transmitted. The system will be entirely opt-in, and there will be no centralized government-run database, which everyone is always concerned about. I'm less concerned than anybody. I say whatever it is. But people are very, very concerned about the personal records. They want to keep them very quiet, and that's their choice. I think it's a great thing because it'll be absolutely quiet. Instead, doctors and patients will always remain in control. The benefits to millions of Americans will be enormous. We will save time, we will save money, and most importantly, we'll save lives. It's just going to make people live longer and be a lot healthier. I think that's really what you're looking to do.
This is a call for an uprising. Welcome to today's show. Another day filled with distractions, and another day that Donald Trump announces a globalist initiative in the United States of America, and the MAGA sheeple continue to ignore. Donald Trump has announced what they're calling the Digital Health Initiative, which is being backed by big tech firms such as Amazon, Apple, Microsoft, Google, OpenAI, among others. And of course, those are very trusted names, right? Bill Gates has created Microsoft, Jeff Bezos is Amazon. All of these online censorship organizations, all of these organizations that really are and make up what we would call the deep state. But they're telling you that it's entirely opt-in, as they do everything else. Everything is always initially opt-in. And then, of course, it's mandatory, right? Like when the cell phone first came out, of course it was opt-in because most people didn't want one. But now they're making it almost impossible for you to live without having a cell phone. You have to enter your phone number pretty much to log into any online account, which in fact makes it in a way mandatory, right? Because they're making it so that you can't live offline. And they're promising you that there'll be no centralized government running the database, which everyone is always concerned about, said Donald Trump, as you heard in that clip. Instead, doctors and patients will always remain in control. So there's no centralized government-run database, which is a concern, yet all these big tech companies we're supposed to trust in. The big tech companies who want to do nothing more than gather our data, the same big tech companies that ignore the Constitution and the Bill of Rights and every other right that we have as human beings and remove them. They're the people who are responsible for removing free speech, among many other things. And what I want to talk about here before I get into what this means, the digital health ecosystem, which is really being called the Digital Health Initiative, is just a wake-up call for anybody out there that might still be MAGA, depending on where you're hearing this, which really, as of right now, is only the website, unless I decide to post it somewhere else. But when we think of terms of globalist groups, right, because Trump is supposed to be Mr. Patriot, Mr. Nationalist, Mr. America First, Mr. Anti-Globalist, when we think of globalist groups, what do we think of? We think of the World Economic Forum, right? We think of, even if you do a search of globalist groups, let's just go that route. Let's do a search. Globalist groups, a term often used in political discourse, though it lacks a universally agreed upon definition. It generally refers to individuals or organizations that advocate for international cooperation and interconnectedness, often through institutions like the United Nations, World Bank, and World Economic Forum. These groups are perceived by some as promoting a global agenda that undermines national sovereignty, right? So if Donald Trump is rolling out the Digital Healthcare Initiative and he's anti-globalist, why is it that we can go to every single globalist organization website, every group that you would consider a threat to humanity and a threat to sovereignty, every one of them, and they have a long, detailed blueprint on a digital healthcare transformation initiative, right? Let's start with the World Economic Forum, maybe the most obvious global organization, maybe the most obvious threat to humanity that we know of, other than some of the other ones you'll see momentarily. Well, here they have right on their website, along with AI governance, which is their main initiative that Donald Trump is bringing in with his AI infrastructure. Here's the Digital Healthcare Transformation Initiative from the World Economic Forum, right? Is that not enough for people? Creating a global platform to accelerate public and private collaboration in digital health, AI, and data by sharing insights, driving action, and building regional innovation capacities. Does that make people out there feel like this is a safe initiative from Donald Trump? Being that it's exactly what the World Economic Forum is pushing for and Donald Trump is bringing it in America. How about the UN? Let's go to the UN. Digital Health Initiatives. Right there on the United Nations website. They're not hiding it either, are they? Right? Donald Trump pretends to be anti-United Nations, pretends to be anti-World Economic Forum, even though he attends the World Economic Forum, right? They even have their UNITAR website with the Digital Health Initiative. Who else do we have out there? Let's think off the top of our head who we would consider. Well, they said the World Bank Group, right, was another globalist organization according to the Google search. What do they have? Well, they have Digital in Health, unlocking the value for everyone. And if you read all the stuff inside of their documents at the World Bank Group, they have the same exact thing, the same exact plan, right? All about a global platform, accelerating public and private collaboration. But don't worry, big government's not behind it all. How about the World Health Organization? Are they a trusted group? No, of course not. Trump pretends to be anti-World Health Organization. So all he has to do is get in front of a microphone and say, we're not working with the World Health Organization, and all the MAGA sheep will do is cheer. And say, yeah, he's taking us away from the World Health Organization. There's no way the pandemic treaty, none of that stuff's going to apply here in America. Right. Well, he brings in every single globalist initiative into America. So here's the World Health Organization, right? There's Tedros, Global Initiative on Digital Health, right? Initiative Digital Health. World Health Organization, not hiding it. How about the CDC? You guys trust the CDC, right? Remember they were saying everybody shouldn't wear a mask, that should wear a mask, Fauci and company. Then telling everybody they needed to get poison in their body. and some nanotech inside of them. And if they didn't, they'd lose their job, they'd lose their freedoms, they'd be ridiculed and mocked. And of course, when people start dying and getting sick, they just hide, don't have to address it, because that's how this world works, especially when they control big tech, and big tech are the ones who are asking for all of your data, right? So here's the CDC, Global Digital Health Strategy, right? What does it say right there? It says, provides a roadmap to achieve digital health goals through a coordinated global effort. The strategy aims to improve the availability and use of data in health systems and accelerate digital enablement of the global health workforce. So all Donald Trump has to say is, hey, this isn't government's not going to have access to this, right? All these idiots don't realize that the government is really run and controlled by big tech, right? They're running and controlling everything because this is a digital prison that they're building out. So all of our data, and that's all they talk about, is obsessing with our data, building out these data centers that are going to drain our energy grid, right? We got to do all this stuff. We could trust all these people. And then every single group that we would identify as a globalist organization, all of them are talking about the same thing, word for word, right? Improving the availability and use of data in health systems. So the CDC is on board. Anybody else we could think of? Well, with the FDA, another corrupt three-letter organization. I mean, I can go on all day here. We can look up every single one. Digital Health Center of Excellence, same exact thing. Connect, share, innovate, right? Empower, right there. FDA, CDC, all of them, right? I mean, if we had documentation from the Bohemian Grove, I'm sure that would have been one of the talking points as they were running around in their underwear with their skid marks, hooking up with little kids. I'm sure in between that, when they went out and talked during the day for about 15 minutes, they were talking about the digital health initiative. I'm sure at the Bilderberg meetings, if we could have access to what they really talk about, it would have been about the digital health initiative. So let's read word for word what exactly this initiative is and how this initiative is not what anybody out there actually thinks it is. It has nothing to do with you and everything to do with these people acquiring all of your data and sharing it and making a global AI governance network with every single thing about you, which eventually will require you to have a digital identification. So the Trump administration announced that it has secured the backing of over 60 leading healthcare and tech companies for an initiative designed to make personal medical data more accessible to U.S. consumers via digital devices. So all your personal private health information will now be shared with Google, and it'll be shared with Amazon, people that you really want to have your personal health information. I mean, most people will just say, well, what's the difference at this point? They have everything else about you. They got pictures of you. They're recording you in your home. I mean, some people already think that they have this information. They're just making it public now, which is probably very true. But the fact that Donald Trump is announcing this as if it's a good thing, announcing this as if, well, we got to get out of the Stone Ages, man. We got to move forward with tech. While these people continue to be distracted by PSYOP after PSYOP after PSYOP and not pay attention to the fact that the enslavement system is through technology. It is through artificial intelligence, and Trump's bringing it in. So they say the effort, which is largely focused on making health information interoperable and shareable across different technologies and tools, is spearheaded by the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services. In remarks delivered Wednesday, Trump said that with today's announcement, we take a major step to bring healthcare into the digital age, something that is absolutely vital. Now, why is that vital? Why is that vital? Has healthcare not worked in the past? We all know about big pharma and magic and the dangers of actually all these pharmaceutical drugs they hand out, but just in general, what is vital about it? Well, what's vital is that they get all of your information and then share it across every single social media platform, every single database on Earth. And of course, this all forms with your digital identification, which will have all of this stuff inside of it. And this, again, was something that they wanted to do during COVID, was get access to a digital passport, which had your health, everything with your health inside of it. And of course, were you vaccinated? Were you not? This is just another way they're trying to get this across now. That's what they're doing. The things that they didn't get across in 2020, they're using different means now, different PSYOPs now, like I've talked about with the border crisis. That's just another way to get a digital ID in place. That's what they pivoted to. But eventually they're going to pivot back to a pandemic because they need to get this crud inside of your body. And they're going to do whatever they can to make sure that happens. And by crud, of course, I mean nanotechnology. So the CMS said in a press release that the initiative is focused on two areas: promoting an interoperability framework that can easily and seamlessly share information between patients and providers. Huh? What is, I'm sorry, what isn't shared when you go to the doctor? Do they not have your records already? They're called records, right? Well, it's because it's on a piece of paper. It's a problem. Oh, it's a problem because the government can't get their hands on things that are on paper as opposed to things that are digital, inside the digital realm that we're supposed to believe is some free place that the government doesn't have full reign over, right? So expanding out in digital health technology in their ecosystem so the patients have the information and resources they need to make better health decisions. The agency also said it is planning to add a digital app library to the Medicare Gov website to highlight trusted, personalized digital health tools focused on prevention, chronic disease management, and cost-effective care navigation. Major tech firms, including Apple, Google, Amazon, and others, signed on to the CMS Health Tech Ecosystem Pledge, in addition to health providers and insurers like Humana and United Health Group. Trump said the key breakthrough we've made is getting many of the biggest names in the healthcare and tech space to agree to industry-wide standards for electronic medical records. Well, you have electronic medical records, which it's going to mean that you're going to need an electronic digital ID, okay? If all these things and all these records are going to be digital, you think you're going to walk in with a physical identification? And the problem is that most of these people are going to think that a digital ID isn't a big deal, right? Until all of a sudden they can't write something online or post something online, or what eventually will happen when they write something or post something online, the police show up at their front door and arrest them for hate speech or questioning the government, where they would say, well, how is that hate speech? And they obviously will tweak the wording of it, and they'll be in prison for the rest of their lives, or be in some type of solitary confinement, I'm sure, where they're whipped and beaten to death, because that's what we're headed towards with digital enslavement. So the system, they say, is entirely opt-in. And as I said earlier, there'll be no centralized government-run database, right? Okay, so they tell you there's no centralized government-run database. Have you noticed that's what Trump says with everything? Right? He's like, we're not going to have a central bank digital currency. Like, we're not going to let the government in on this. But what we're going to do is we're going to bring in crypto. Oh, and who's behind crypto? Who's monitoring? Oh, the boogeyman, the invisible man, right? Oz behind the curtain. I mean, are you kidding me? And speaking of Oz, you saw Dr. Oz sitting up there on stage next to Donald Trump smirking. You know, the same Dr. Oz that's pals with Marina Abramovich. Best buds, right? Hanging out, same Marina Abramovich who says that, Donald Trump is the great magician that's needed to bring about this new world order, right? So he was up there along with RFK as they bring this stuff in. They sit there and they smile and they're like, we're anti this, we're anti that. They throw the words chemtrails out. So people are like, oh, he's talking about chemtrails, right? Meanwhile, as I mentioned, over and over again, RFK talking about the wearable technology becoming mandatory in 4 years, which eventually means underneath the skin. RFK talking about how we need to move forward with biotechnology and mRNA. Huh? Anyone paying attention to what these people are saying, or are you only paying attention to stuff that, you can think about and obsess over, like Epstein's Island every single day, instead of the fact that the New World Order is being built out right now with this scumbag, this hand-selected Donald Trump in front of you, but you can't get past the psychosis, of course, of Donald Trump pumping his fist on a stage, screaming, fight, 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 and being martyred because you've built an idol out of this man, if you want to call him that. So, goes on to say, we look forward to working across the healthcare ecosystem to deliver a secure, interoperable, standards-based, and AI-enabled medical record system that will foster medical breakthroughs and support better outcomes and experiences for patients and the medical professionals that care for them. So let's just recap everything here, what Donald Trump is doing. He is bringing in a digital health initiative, which is going to put your medical records online. It's going to allow all of these big tech companies to have access to your personal medical records. But it's only if you opt in. And then, of course, when you go to the doctor's office in a year and you haven't opted in and you need medical treatment, the doctor will say, well, you can't have your prescriptions or whatever you might need unless you opt in, because we're doing everything digitally now. That's what it leads to. That's the point. They just trick you with this opt-in crap. And then you go and you actually might need something, or you might need, whatever you might need at a doctor's office. I don't know what that would be, right? I mean, look how much the doctor's office has changed over the years. You can't even get your prescriptions anymore. You got to go to the doctor like every 3 to 6 months, even to go see, oh, we can't have it. You need something for heartburn or something like that. Oh, you can't go to the doctor's office, right? You got blood pressure. Oh, you can't go unless you come in every 3 months. You got to go in. And then they go, well, we're not going to give it to you now. We're not going to let you take whatever you might need. You can't do it unless you opt into this. That's what it leads to. That's the point. Because they're going to force all of the doctors to opt into this. The doctors have to go by all the mandates of the CDC. I said that before. That's why any doctor that spoke out on his own against the vaccine, that went against what the CDC was saying, lost their practice or was shamed in the public, right? They're told, this is what you have to do. This is what you have to say. You follow it to a T. Every doctor does the same exact thing. So when they tell you in a year, you can't come into the doctors without opting into this, and you also need a digital ID. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? And they say it's still, you can still opt in or out. It's up to you, but you're pushed out. You're pushed out of the system. Some people might be dependent on the medication, even though they don't need to be dependent on the medication because they don't know about natural cures. Many people are obviously duped into that, as we all know. But think about that. That's what this all leads towards. Donald Trump sits there with a smile and says, well, we got to move in with the digital age, right? Oh, we're going to keep this out of big government's hand. Huh? Google, all these companies or corporations are the ones who run the government. Have you noticed? There's no changes to free speech or anything since those guys have, since Trump has come in. Google hasn't changed their ways. In fact, they've only gotten worse, right? Meta, everybody else, Amazon, right? And then you go, well, it's just a digital healthcare initiative. Oh, right, the same one the World Economic Forum is saying that we need. The United Nations is saying that we need. The World Bank Group is saying we need. The World Health Organization is saying we need. The CDC is saying we need. The FDA is saying that we need. He is a globalist, ladies and gentlemen, and we are getting closer to the New World Order than we ever have been. When all this tech is in place, there is no actual escape. And if you try to go off grid, if a large amount of us do together, they will Waco us. You might be able to get off grid by yourself with your spouse or your friends, a couple of you. But if thousands of people decide we don't want to opt into the system, they're coming for you. That's the way it's going to be, unless people push back now. And I've said it a million times. The pushback is getting off the tech. And I get it. You're listening to this online right now. But that means that when they tell you you can't go to the doctor's office, unless you have those, unless you opt into this, then don't go. Start learning about natural cures, which you should be learning about anyway now. Every single thing that they tell you have to do, PayPal, all that stuff, then don't do it. Then you push back because they'll see the data and the information, and then they'll realize how much of the population they're losing control over. But if we don't get this message out to people about digital IDs and everything with AI and technology and the enslavement grid here, then people are just going to fall right into it with the Elon Musks of the world, the Sam Altmans of the world, the Peter Thiels of the world, right? I mean, we could look at Palantir and all the stuff going on with Peter Thiel. I mean, they're openly telling you, hey, this is a problem for Americans, and all the conservatives are ignoring it, right? Because Peter Thiel funds Donald Trump, right? They're cashing in. Peter Thiel is, cashing in on Trump 2.0, bankrolling Republicans, right? Oh, and at the same time, they're telling you they're going to spy on you fully. And they're going to, the stuff we see with ICE, and they're going to detain you. And of course, it's not about illegals. It's about people like us that they're really actually targeting and monitoring, right? Absolute joke that nobody sees this at this point. But the people who think they're awake or not, they're actually just as dumbed down as the people on the left who want all these, believe in all this insane stuff, like you're born the opposite gender than you are, all this just completely insane stuff that they think is progressive, which is laughable. They're just literally under mind control sheeple. The MAGA conservatives are even worse because they're sitting there and they're cheering all this stuff on. They're like, men aren't playing women's sports, but Donald Trump's bringing in AI governance. He's bringing in this digital initiative. He's bringing in one thing after the next, the Golden Dome surveillance system. I mean, when are they going to snap out of it? When it's too late and they're locked in? And then Trump says, I told you I was the snake all along, right? Incredible. I thank everybody for being here. I hope you're all doing well. God bless you and your families, as always.